After 72 hours, I still maintain it's pretty silly to compare a game which has, as part of a franchise, been part of public eye for nearly three full decades to only a project that is getting a boatload of cash new IP, a but also oh a a legacy sequel to a racing game that took 22 years to come out. Oh, that is something that even like a child could tell you that all different games, different ways of developing stuff. I mean, now that I got that bit out of the way, hello everyone. I'm still easing my way into November, even with the extra hour of sleep I got last night. So, with that in mind, I thought I would give my belated thoughts on the second and direct for Kirby Air Riders, no apostrophe S, get it right. It's where, which it lasted a full hour and definitely tells us what we're in for, or when the game releases, as for Nintendo Switch 2 on November 20th of this year. I mean, I will say this, like, Nintendo seems to be really liking Thursday release dates lately. Which actually appreciates, given how they're not the only pop culture events I tend to keep an eye on. Like, I did that once for Zelda and Space Jam a long time ago, but I'm not doing that again. So, and I won't be going in for every single thing announced in this direct, but I will be covering the albums out of me, and not just as the largest scale amiibo they've had to date, which also are interchangeable. Makes you wonder if they're going to do something similar with other ones to have swappable riders and vehicles. So let's begin. There's also been confirmed right off the bat that I'm not going in any particular order either, but before I get too bogged down how and all the other major details for characters and gameplay, that there will be announcers in multiple languages, including English and Japanese, is including this ability just to shut that off if you're so inclined, which is mostly my personal preference. Like how, I mean, I actually think that the other accessibility options are more important as trying to crowbar our voice acting in a game was not needed or wanted. I know there's been a lot of debate, but I do not think it would make every single game better. I think it'd actually make some games worse. Like, I could only imagine and how hard it would have been to focus with people barking commands at me as was just looking at text prompt. And given how a lot of these characters are non-verbal, well, Sakurai's rationale makes sense. In a game all about machines, it will get noisy if the writers all started shouting, so even people playing Mario Kart or do take issue with how noisy Daisy and Toad can get, especially. Given how nasally the latter is often known to be. Now, let's get into a whole slew of new returning features. There's some of which are unique to this game, others are coming back for the first time in more than 20 years. Okay, so returning from the original game is Top Ride, a sort of top-down racing experience that recalls all of early arcade racers like Super Sprint and Super Off Road. The latter, I kind of always had a soft spot for, or mainly because the Atratmo music, it was like a sample of Rush's Spirit of Radio. Oh, and also, oh, there's the road trip hip feature, which I can see I must have spent a lot of time on which given how it's not been the only game on the console that's been doing that, like with Mario Kart World, that being its big selling point, even like the bonuses as system works similar to get when you get drive through from a place, being for stuff for your vehicle, abilities, spare parts. Online multiplayer, of course, is very much a big thing. And given how the new system has capabilities that the previous consoles did not, I definitely like the idea there. Of course, I even like how the a ranking system works similar to how it did in Smash, as with the where instead of having one on 10 or many or hundreds on the leaderboard, like they factor in everyone on where depending on how you do it shows you how much better you are than in any number of players. Here's and while I've heard this before about people wanting to revisit ideas that didn't work the first time, here's the thing. And if your idea came from a pre-existing IP and doesn't do too well, that's not a problem in the grand scheme of things. Next time can always be better. However, if your idea comes from your own IP and doesn't do too well, then it's less likely to be revisited. However, I would submit that Sakurai and other people at Nintendo have actually managed to make pretty effective use of taking an idea from one of their works and applying it, to other ones. Like why I notice how so many any any Nintendo games after Breath of the Wild, out into the Kingdom, managed to include open world aspects in their own way, hey, or how things like the UI, and even some of the goodies like the gummies here are remixes of what they did in Smash. Heck, even some of the characters has come from other other games that Hal worked on previously, as well as Sora, and we'll get to that in a bit. As I also enjoy the how they're going to enter the copy system, and even though I'm not sure how the class system is going to work based on the way they're describing it, there are indeed plenty of things I can say in good faith, starting with the variety of tracks they're going to be launching with. Start with the 3 new tracks that were not revealed in the previous direct presentation. We have the Airtopia Ruins. I've always liked the idea of ruins that are in the sky, as well as the usual ones you'd find on land or underwater. The Crystalline Fissure, our requisite course that is like our own little rainbow road full of bright colors and even bigger challenges. And the Steam Gust Forge, where it's like a sort of solar punkish factory. Always kind of like that in games as well, whenever they have machine parts to explore. A lot of the factories in the Donkey Country games that King K. Rool is working on, Chemical Plant and Zone, or Oil Ocean Zone and Sonic, like, or just inside the claw machine that Toy Story games are having Sega, we'll talk about the time. And now, all the tracks from the original Kirby Air Ride on GameCube are coming back, which overall, on top of the ones we talked that were unveiled in the last direct, will make 18 courses at launch at least. So, putting to the list, Fantasy Meadows, Celestial Valley, Sky Sands, Frozen Hillside, Magma Flows, Beanstalk Park, Machine Passage, Checker Nights, and Nebula Belt. So, with that being the case, it's the right ideal. I think to me, even though Masahiro goes for this as well, this is like the ideal way to who use whose nostalgia in your work. I mean, not merely juxtaposing the old with the new, but using the old to build something new that still respects it while also bringing in people who might not have the same attachment. Kind of like how with Superman early in the year, where they definitely pulled a lot of material from like the Richard Donner films, but also introduced elements from the comics and other parts of DC canon that some people might be familiar with. Or like how Fantastical First Steps really leaned into the elements from the original Stanley Jack Kirby stories, even calling their timeline Earth 828 in reference to Kirby's birthday being August 28th. I mean, but also include little Easter eggs to the other adaptations. But that's another day. On top of expanding upon the gear and multiplayer modes as well, we've also got a whole host of characters joining the race. I mean, it's both friend and foe alike. Hey, I mean, presumably more to come. Hopefully, there's Taranza, the mousy DeRoach, Rocky, Scarfy, Marks, and Waddle Dee, as well as my boy Rick, the karate hamster. I mean, where you might wonder why they didn't have these guys in Smash. I guess because that they were saving them for this game instead. I mean, and of course, I really appreciate the inclusion of Low, as well as his female counterpart La La La, which nice little nod to who the Adventures of Lolo, which is what they actually made before Kirby. He, given how both games are all the same developers and even implied to be in the same universe, so it's that. Hmm. Okay, so we have more information about Freerun, which has to explore the hub, and Time Attack, which has always been useful for me to help me get a lay of the land of each track without having being a bunch of other races at first. I mean, I do sometimes do to Respawn Ghost Data to be my best. And sometimes they also have other recent developers Ghost Data. Uh, but I do that just to practice each course because as not only is having other racers on the track does make it easier to grip for things sometimes. Games. I've always had way more effect with many of these racing games than other ones personally. There's also bosses in the game. We have the Robo Day Today, hey, which can also change um, fighter to vehicle and back again, as if he were or became like a Dreamland Decepticon of sorts, And the checklist also appreciates it for or being a bigger picture. Again, another feature borrowed from Smash, where the more you unlock and progress, the more rewards you get. That's so. And the machine decals. There's also as well as you customize your ride, and of course, as you can tell by a the one I chose to wear, you can even unlock hats for your racer. Or as if you were doing your own little race card version of Team Fortress 2, so to speak. I bet the heavy would appreciate that. I mean, I don't know what the purpose of the gummies would be, but they're fun. I can definitely say that much. And like I mentioned before, I really like how flexible the accessibility options are, where some people will prefer to have like move the stick up to pitch the vehicle up, moving it down to pitch it down, but some people like the opposite approach sometimes. I mean, same with a lot of cars, making it so they invert their, like the horizontal one, so they basically would turn right to go left, man, as people sometimes do. Ooh. Changing the colors, moving the screen shake, field of view, ooh. And on top of preset options, there's a whole bunch of ones there. I mean, and that's to me way more useful and important to making sure that as many people as possible can play your game. Aim, aim. We also have the global test ride, which will be several times on November the 8th, 9th, 15th, and 16th before the game's official launch until the 20th. I mean, using their other titles with online components abroad, I guess is going to be like something of a stress test to see how many people can fit in a server or before the whole thing just craps out like that. I mean, and I played a few new titles, especially the last 5 years, where more and more people have been playing games than ever, especially. There's been a lot of instances where they've underestimated demand and for playing some online titles, like all of a sudden had the service outright crash or at least not been having filling up with the moments. And so, and of course, the opening and cutscene has been shown off, which is definitely going to be a mixture of both wonder and a hidden danger. Of course, it would not be a Kirby game without looking very cheery and friendly on the surface, while also having like a villain that's up there with Gygas as one of their biggest threats. That's in there as well. So there's that. I wonder who or what's going to be this time, because right now I'd say 01 or 02 from Crystal Shard is still pretty up there. Yeah. Overall, a solid presentation, I would say. I would not expect we're going to begin like a regular-ish direct until after the game launches on the 20th at the earliest. And one of the first videos I would have been doing after Time Change was either going to be my belated reaction on this direct or this month's gaming vlog. And given the current state of affairs, I decided to go with Star Warrior or Air Racing game first. And between this game, Mario Kart World, Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, holds F-Zero GX on GameCube Classics, and a whole boatload of other titles on the eShop. Just off the top of my head, it's definitely clear that the Switch 2 is going to be very friendly to racing game fans, so to speak, such as myself. Anyway, that's all for now. Let's all look in soon, so take care, everyone.